The Calgary Police Service Sex Crimes Unit has charged a man in a sexual assault that occurred in October at a Southwest hotel. Police were called to the Canadian Best Value Inn at Chinook Station in the early morning hours of October 12th for reports that a hotel guest had been sexually assaulted in her room. It is believed the victim allowed a man into her room thinking he was an online acquaintance. Once inside the room, the man allegedly sexually assaulted the victim before fleeing the room. It is believed the suspect has been communicating with the victim via text message prior to the assault, and that the victim thought the man was someone she had previously been speaking with through social media. We later determined that the suspect was an employee of the hotel and alleged he may have obtained the victim's phone number through the hotel guest registration information. It is not clear how the accused may have obtained information about the victim's online conversations to pose as an online acquaintance, or if it was a matter of an assumption or coincidence. On Tuesday, March 13, 2018, we arrested the suspect at the Calgary International Airport upon his return to Canada. Jatinder Pal Singh BRAR, 27 of Calgary, has been charged with 1 count of sexual assault. He will next appear in court Tuesday, April 24, 2018. The Calgary Police Service would like to thank Canadian Border Services Agency for their assistance in this investigation.
How long had you had him in your process as a suspect before you got back to the country?
Just through the investigation, at the start of the investigation, we were unsure of who may be responsible for this, and just through some investigative avenues, we were able to lead to a potential suspect. We knew that at that time the suspect had been out of the country and was waiting for a return to further that investigation.
It's a very sort of complex thing to the alleged crime. Have you ever heard of anything like that happening? It's essentially bringing someone from when you see them walking into your place of employment to getting a phone number allegedly. There's a lot of steps in there. Have you ever seen anything like that in the city?
No, I would say that it's fairly rare. Knowing all the details, like I said, there's some coincidences or assumptions as part of the investigation as to what his methodology was to why this transpired as it did. As it stands right now, we're comfortable through the investigation that we were able to lay that 1 count of sexual assault.
Are more charges anticipated?
Not at this time.
Did you know he was coming back to Canada, or was it just holidaying, or?
We were unsure of when he was going to return, but working with our partners at Canada Border agencies, that we were able to ascertain upon his return.
Do you collect stats on sort of crimes that are similar to this?
Not the sex crimes unit itself. I know Stats Canada and various other agencies will say do track stats of a similar nature. I don't know to the exact detail of those stats, but certainly a statistic as a sexual assault would be recorded.
But it is rare to sort of see this sort of a crime such as this, where someone is using social media like this, or?
No, I mean, I think you gotta be careful. I mean, we want to be able to present that. I mean, there's lots of transactions that happen through social media that have ended, without a sexual assault occurring, and we want to extend the message that it's not the victim's fault just because they're using social media or using online acquaintance, dating sites, what have you. At the end of the day, I would hazard guess that these individuals, victims, don't sign up to be sexually assaulted when they're out participating in these online websites.
Do those sites though add a bigger concern for your department in that sense, because it's enabling potential prowlers that access?
And I think that's a great question. I think what we're seeing now with technology, of course, over the last 10 to 15 years, you see somewhat of a shift. But again, if you have those playing it cautiously by meeting people in a public place to get to know them first, it is always advantageous. But certainly, again, this is not about the victim or survivor using social media or these dating websites. Just that you want to put an air of caution in for sure.
But what advice would you have for people who use like Tinder or Grindr or these sort of social media tools to meet people? Like, what advice would you have for them?
Just that in itself, I would recommend that they meet people in a public place. Certainly, let their friends know or family know that they're going out to meet an acquaintance. Again, make sure it's in a public place and that, you get to know them before any sort of relationship develops or what have you. But I said we got to be very careful because there's several instances where these acquaintances or these interactions ended quite without a sexual assault occurring.
How has the business helped in the investigation and made suggestions to them as to how they can better protect privacy of their guests or so?
Yeah, the actual hotel has been very cooperative with the investigation. And I can't comment on what their policies and their procedures are when it comes to privacy or what have you, but certainly they have been cooperating with the investigators.
Do we know how long he's been working there?
That I don't know, I'm sorry.
No? Any other questions?
You say your department doesn't collect stats on this, but do you see, I know you say this is rare, but do you see a need to maybe potentially collect stats on sort of this is a potential new phenomenon?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly there's lots of analytical work and research being done on the types of offenses, and like I said, before the internet, in the late '90s or what have you, the certain investigations of sexual assault investigations was quite, we'll say, less complex than what they are today with the advent of the internet, social media, cell phones, technology, what have you. So.
You mentioned that the victim was speaking to somebody she thought she had already been speaking to on social media. Is there any belief that the suspect and the person she was actually speaking to on social media had any sort of relationship, or was it completely coincidental that?
Nothing came out in the investigation that would say that there was some form of communication or relationship between her perceived acquaintance online and this staff member of the hotel.
So I'm sorry for it's sort of an answer to ask, but I'm just trying to paint a picture. So the suspect allegedly just saw this person, got the information off the registry computer, and just went from there.
Yeah, as part of the investigation, I mean, some details I can't share, but we as part of the investigation, we suspect that this may be a case where information may have been obtained because of his position at the hotel. But again, it's part of the investigation that we're still looking into. So, but there would be some, in order to get access to her cell phone number, there would have to be some sort of access to that.
And do you know if he was aware of the other social media contact?
That I'm not sure.
Is there surveillance on the guest room floors?
Yes, there is video surveillance on the floor and in the lobby. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.